So, welcome to our kickoff webinar for the State of AI and Platform Engineering 2025, our defining report that the community has spent about the last 4 months working on. It's involved lots of interviews, lots of survey gathering, lots of conversations, bits of research, reading, basically everything that's out there so that we could consolidate all of this information into one trusty report for you. Now, many of you may know that each year for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, the community has done a state of platform engineering survey. So we focus specifically on platform engineering and we asked about salaries, platform engineering maturity, adoption rates, stuff like that. And we still are doing that survey. We're actually going to be releasing that in November. And as part of that survey in 2023, we asked for the first time about AI, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But it was one question out of two surveys, and about 30 questions in total. One question on AI in 2023. 2024, one question on AI again. Now, 2025, as you've probably all seen, we're living in a very, very different world at the moment. This is a world in which AI is not one question in a platform engineering survey. AI really is everywhere. It's potentially everything. It's all consuming. Is it the game changer, need defining thing of our times? Is it an overhyped tidal wave that just wastes all of our energy and wastes money? Well, that's kind of what we wanted to understand, and especially from the perspective of the platform engineer. So what are we going to talk about in this webinar? Well, this webinar isn't going to replace 40 words of report, but what I will do is I'll give you a really, really good breakthrough or breakdown, excuse me, of our research, our findings, and our surveying. And then we'll kind of prime you a little bit for Thursday's launch. And I'll have a nice QR code at the end so you can go join the waitlist already. And then you kind of know what to expect as you're going in on Thursday. So who am I? I am Sam. Very nice to meet you all. I'm the head of ecosystem at Platform Engineering. So I work on a lot of our reports. I do a lot of interviews with people. Basically, I like to think of myself as a language learning model, except I'm just trying to fill my database with as much platform engineering stuff as possible. So if you've ever met me at a conference, I was at Container Days last week, I probably hounded you with questions about your platform. So that's the kind of guy I am, trying to absorb all of that and then translated it into webinars, into blogs, into courses. If you've taken some of our courses, you've probably seen me there. And I also moderate some panels here and there, and I hosted PlatformCon New York City. So if you're at one of our live days, hopefully I got the chance to meet you there. And if not, well, I'll see you next year. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking about what actually is the state of AI and platform engineering. What is this report? How does it work? We're going to be talking about the kind of dual-headed coin or multi-headed dragon, as I like to say, the symbiotic relationship of AI and platform engineering, because I think this is something that confuses a lot of people. When you say AI and platform engineering, do you mean AI-powered platforms or do you mean platforms for AI? So we'll be talking about that a bit. I'll also be talking about our teams actually using AI. We might know or feel in our gut like, oh, I use it to write my emails or, we saw this cool stuff from Cursor, but are our platform teams actually using it? But more importantly, are they getting value? Then what should teams be doing? We had the opportunity to dissect a lot of this data and talk to some pretty pioneering people in the space who are seeing a lot of success in platform engineering. And we've taken some of that. A little bit is in this webinar, but we've really put a lot of that into the report. The goal of the report is not for you to just read and say, oh, that was cool. You can read, go, that was cool. What should I do next? Bam, here you go. And you can hop right into it. And then what else is in the report? This is only about 30 minutes of me talking, and I can talk pretty fast and I can cover a lot of stuff. But it's a 40-page report with lots and lots and lots and lots of charts and data and information and writing and interviews. So there's a lot more in there. So at the end, I'll break down some of the other stuff that's there so you can go read it for yourself. First things first, what is the state of AI in platform engineering? Well, it is our defining white paper on AI and how it intersects with the platform engineering universe. So the crux or the main core of the white paper is our State of AI and Platform Engineering survey. So we interviewed about 242 platform engineering professionals all around the world, and the roles were primarily platform engineers, architects, and then technical leaders is a bit vague there, but it's because a lot of platform teams don't necessarily report to a head of platform or have a defined head of platform role. But that technical leader is really the platform ownership role. So whoever kind of owned that platform engineering initiative. All of this data was collected in April 2025 as part of this survey. It was 21 questions covering AI usage, challenges, org attitudes, future expectations. And the purpose was really to understand the current state and future trajectory of AI and platform engineering. And I put this quote here from Google because a little sneak preview for you. If you think that AI is going to replace platform engineering or platform engineering has no relevancy in an AI future, you are absolutely wrong. 94% call AI critical to platform engineering's future, while 86% see platform engineering as key to AI's value. That's a really, really, really important quote. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into why that is in this webinar. And we're going to go much deeper into the report itself, which is coming out on Thursday. So the white paper also includes a smaller survey, which focused on AI native infrastructure. So you might notice this one was collected a little bit later. It's because as we were going, we were working with one of our awesome partners, Vultr, and we realized we had focused quite heavily on the kind of the developer side of things, about code, about the usage of AI as a tool, but not so much on that kind of AI native, that infrastructure side. And so we did another survey. Lots of people from the same one overlapped, but lots of new people too, really focusing on those kind of AI ownership questions, orchestration layers, collaboration, infra, really focusing on that. And the goal was to see, so how mature is actually AI infrastructure amongst platform engineering teams? So that is exactly the core of the report. Now, as I mentioned, it also included some pretty significant contributions from experts in the space. So I think you can see in the chat, Ajay is here in the chat. So he is one of those such experts. So he is one of the people that we talked a lot to. He contributed quite a bit of writing to help put it together. And there's a few other authors who helped contribute as well. And also lots of interviews, lots of reading of other research. So this is more than just a gathering of a bit of data. This is really something that you can take, absorb, and then basically go and attack on whatever day. Well, maybe not Friday morning, but you can have the weekend to stew it over. And then Monday morning, you have an action to go for. But let's jump into it. AI-powered platforms versus platforms for AI. So what do I mean when I talk about this? It might be a bit self-explanatory, but this, I think, is the crux of a lot of miscommunication and a lot of challenges when it comes to talking about AI and platform engineering. And this is a really core part of clarifying this kind of dual relationship. Now, AI is incredibly powerful. It has a lot of powers to it. There's a lot of incredible use cases. And there's a lot of benefits platform engineering can have to designing platforms that really serve, AI ML workloads, that really serve that, ML ops engineer, that serves that AI engineer role, that can be designed with that customer profile in mind. Now, that's a platform being built to serve AI or potentially being built even as an AI platform in general. Now, that is not the same thing as a platform that's being powered by AI. Now, that might be a completely normal internal developer platform, except you're using AI or agentic workflows to power your golden paths within it. So it's important to have those two perspectives in mind when thinking about or reading AI-related content. Are they talking about AI-powered platforms, or are they talking about platforms for AI? I think that's a key miscommunication that people keep making, and it's really important to understand those differences. Now, what might be included in AI-powered platform? Here's a long list of some examples. We have a lot more examples in the white paper itself, but an AI-powered platform is simply the integration of AI into powering the platform itself. So all of those benefits of platform engineering, whatever you might be aiming for with your platform, whether it's improved DevX, it's productivity, it's security, whatever some of the goals are, standardization. Now it's about using AI to kind of supercharge those goals. Now this comes with its caveats, of course. AI does have its risks. You need guardrails for AI. That's where you get a little bit into the support for platform engineering, which can build in those guardrails to support AI. You see, duality, multi-headed dragon. It's all intersection with each other. So I'll just read through a couple of these so you can get a sense of the types of stuff that we're talking about. You'll notice it doesn't just say, oh, it writes code. I think that is something we'll touch on in a moment. But there's a lot more to AI platform engineering than generating code with AI and writing documentation. You can do intelligent troubleshooting and root cause analysis. This is something that many people are doing already. This is not one of those hypothetical workflows that you read about and you think, well, how can I do it? Natural language interfaces for platform interactions. I've seen a lot of cool stuff like this already using using platforms, with a strong graph-based backend, as the backend, kind of an orchestrator, actually like Humanitec or Cratex, that then have a natural language interface in front of it. I think Holmes GPT from Robusta does some cool stuff there as well. So rather than needing to, do some click ops or working on a portal, you kind of just type your request. You type your request maybe into Claude or into ChatGPT, and then there you go. It pulls forward the stuff that you need. So those are things that we're already seeing at play, and those are examples of AI-powered platform engineering. Now, what is a platform for AI? Well, like I said just before, a platform for AI is a specialized ecosystem designed to enable data scientists and ML engineers to efficiently develop, train, deploy, and serve AI ML models. It provides the required infrastructure, high-performance hardware, scalable compute, data management, model lifecycle pipelines, and secure compliant environments so AI initiatives can scale and deliver impact. Oof, that was a lot longer than I was expecting as I started to read it. But you can see how there's obviously intersections between these things. This platform for AI, yes, it might be a platform built for AI, but you probably have AI golden paths within it that make it an AI-powered platform for AI. So it's important not to think that these are two completely separate beasts that have no intersection. But it's also really important to understand that there are really two important elements here. These are two core pieces. Now, this platform for AI does change things in the perspective of a platform engineer in that it might mean their core customer is not just a developer. Now, not all platforms only serve developers, but overwhelmingly, a lot of conversation in the platform engineering community is around serving developers. Now, a platform for AI probably isn't going to serve developers. It might be serving data scientists, ML engineers, maybe even business people, business intelligence. Now, this is kind of a new-ish frontier. There are some really cool examples. There's a few platform con talks you can look at on this topic, but this is really something that we're newly discovering. You'll see in the data when you read the report, this is not something that everybody has yet, but it's clear this is the path that we're on. When you look at the conversations and the data of what people are looking for and hoping for, you see it's clear that a platform engineer is going to serve many, many, many more customers in the future than just the developer. You will have platform engineers managing platform initiatives, and those platform initiatives are specifically focused on AI and supporting ML engineers. And you can see the way that this is going to flow through a whole bunch of different proponents, a whole bunch of different areas. And we have a long section where we kind of explore where is the ownership of the AI platform. Is your AI initiative or AI platform being owned by, a data science team? Is it being owned by an AI team? It's still a bit split, but it's a really growing number, and there's a large number of them who are owned by platform engineers. Some of you here might already be owning AI platforms or starting to work on AI platforms. So it's really important to keep those two perspectives in mind when you're thinking about AI and platform engineering. So I think the big topic, now that I got through the basic definitional stuff, the big thing that everyone is really interested in. Now, the usage, you probably know in your gut what the usage situation is. So do you use AI in your day-to-day work? 81% yes, 8% yes, a lot. So 89% of people, of 89% of platform engineers surveyed are using AI a lot in their work, day-to-day work. I don't think that is any surprise for anybody here. I think almost every single person on this call, in this webinar, myself included, probably used AI today I've probably used it 20, 30 times today already. I would be very surprised if there's anyone here who isn't using AI at all in any way. And I think a fun fact, as I kind of alluded to a bit before, in the State of Platform Engineering, Volume 2, which was released November 2023, so less than 2 years ago, only 53% had reported using AI. Now, in that case, they reported using a little bit of AI. And when we kind of delved deeper into that, we found that most of them were using it for helping to write their email, not for code, not for documentation, not for anything technical at all. So this is an absolutely gigantic change in 2 years. But really, you didn't need the data to tell you this. It's like how sometimes they do studies on water and they're like, yep, water's wet, confirm that. But that's a part of research. We need to kind of just ask some of the obvious questions and make sure that what we feel in our gut, what we see around us, is actually true. Now, when it comes to perspective on AI, this is probably another one where you think, well, that's obvious. Why do we even need to ask? Will AI have a large impact on platform engineering in the future? So this is the question that we asked everybody. 89.9% said yes. I think that's unsurprising to everybody here. Does AI play a large role in your organizational goals? Slightly smaller, but I think unsurprising to everybody here, 73.5% yes. Now, these three questions feel incredibly obvious. They feel a little bit repetitive, but they're important for setting a really crucial baseline for as we go forward and as we ask deeper things and as we try to dissect from usage to what we're actually using it for into value. Now, here is an interesting point. Would you describe AI as being underhyped, appropriately hyped, or overhyped? 47.3% overhyped. So that means all of those people are likely using it every single day. They're using it for whatever they may be using it for. But to them, the hype's not living up to the expectation. But then you've got this 44.5% who are saying, it's about hyped enough. It's pretty hyped, but it's hyped enough. And then there's 8.2% who are saying underhyped. And I've gotten a few questions on those questions, like, why is this an interesting thing to ask? And I think it's really important for something that I'm going to explore in just a moment. So remember this breakdown. We'll say it was around 50-50, appropriately hyped, overhyped, and then this last 8%. That's bad math there, but it's about half of people who are thinking it's, either overhyped or appropriately hyped. And then there's this small kind of unit who are like, this is underhyped. And there's a question of, was that useless data? I don't think so, and I'll explain why. What do you use AI for? Like I alluded to before, 75% of people for code generation, 70% for documentation, 56% writing emails, responding to messages. Now, if you've noticed, these percentages do not add up because, of course, we let people answer multiple points. So you will also notice that other than ChatOps and error analysis, almost nothing that I highlighted on my bullet points above of examples of things you could do in an AI-powered platform. Now, that's not because there's anything particularly wrong with code generation or documentation, but every one of these things here, I think, is a very obvious thing that you probably have used yourself, explored yourself, or watched content in. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind. This is what the majority of people in our industry are using AI for. Overwhelmingly, the AI usage number is just code generation, documentation, and then writing emails. So when we see these incredible statistics, these, insane facts, like I just showed you, almost 90% of our industry is using AI extensively, or is at least using AI. What are they using it for? Well, it's for these two items, basically, code generation and documentation. So this is not from the State of AI. This is a really great quote from the State of AI in Business 2025, MIT Nanda report, which came out, I think, just about a week ago. You've probably looked at it already. You've probably read some articles. I would absolutely recommend getting this report as well. I think from an overall business and enterprise perspective, it's really good. And I think it's a fantastic companion piece to understanding AI in the wider landscape. And I think some of the stuff discussed there Our report, The State of AI and Platform Engineering, really demonstrates why. Now, some of you might have read this quote already, but I will read through a bit of it just myself here as well. Despite 30 to 40 billion in enterprise investment into Gen AI, this report uncovers a surprising result in that 95% of organizations are getting zero return. The outcomes are so starkly divided that yada, yada, yada. Just 5% of integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable P&L impact. Do you remember this graph before? Now it's 8% rather than the 5% that they saw there. But this to me is a very interesting correlation. Now, this is a point of taking two bits of data and going, rather than saying, well, this is obviously the case. But when you have conversations with people on AI, they often fit into these two buckets. It's either underhyped or it's massively overhyped. I see there's a lot of pop-ups in the chat. So let me. Mhm. Can I get access to the presentation? Is there a replay? Okay. Since I got three messages all at once, I thought, oh gosh, no, I've actually accidentally screen shared my Slack or something like that. But all good. Yes, don't worry, you'll get the recording. The recording is shared on YouTube right now as we speak. And also you will have access to the slides. Now, going back to this point, it's 5% versus 8%. And this is some, very spurious correlation making. But in all of our interviews that we had with people and all of our conversations on this topic, every single one who said that AI was overhyped, the usage of AI in their organization was predominantly focused on code generation and documentation. Unsurprising, that's what the majority of organizations are. When we talk to people who thought, oh, this is massively underhyped, there they were doing some of the things that we highlighted here. They were doing predictive scaling, resource optimization. They were automating code reviews, security scanning. They were really using the deeper levels of AI in platform engineering. They were using AI to enhance their platform and their platform engineering initiative. They were not just generating code and documentation. And I think that fact really helps explain this hype measure. And that's why we asked about it. And obviously, the numbers are slightly disconnected and it's spurious correlation. But I don't think it's an unfair conclusion to make based on our conversations, based on the data that we have across these two reports, and especially what we got in our surveys. So, what are the biggest challenges that most teams are facing? If 95%, according to their survey, are basically seeing no results. And in our survey, if 50% of people, excuse me, 45% of people are saying, this is very overhyped, we're not really seeing the value here. This is overhyped. Well, what could it be? What are the challenges that they're seeing? Skill gaps is a huge one, of course. Hallucination is a big problem. It's a big struggle that lots of people have. Integration, privacy, cost, biases, and then other. Now, other was mostly just more forms, saying things slightly related to these, but just getting a bit more specific. So that's why we put that into other. And these do cover a lot of the challenge points. I think skill is really something that is a big, big issue that people underestimate when it comes to teams. And we'll explore that a little bit later. And then, of course, the hallucination problem. Now, hallucination is something that is a core part of LLMs, but many organizations have found interesting workarounds, or they have found ways to be safe with it, or they have found ways to work with it. You have conversations with, Abdel from Google, where he breaks down the incredible things that they're doing. And hallucination is a challenge, but it's not stopping them. They're moving a million miles an hour. And I would really recommend joining his webinar that's happening in just a few weeks, where they touch on exactly that. So these challenges are not, in my opinion, the explanation for that 95 to 5% gap. They're a big part of it, of course, but it's a much wider challenge when it comes to AI. And I think this notion of the AI implementation plateau is a really important part of that. Now, if you saw my webinar a few weeks ago on takeaways from PlatformCon, I talked about this. What is the AI implementation plateau? Basically, it's the stage of AI adoption where progress slows after early hype as organizations face scaling, integration, and governance challenges before reaching sustainable maturity. Now, hopefully it's not too dizzying me bouncing up and down on the slides, but I promise I won't do that too much anymore. Why is this such an important point, and why do I think this is really crucial to highlight with the data that we've got? Well, if 90% of teams are using AI, that means they've come in, they've used it for some code generation, they've used it for writing emails, maybe for documentation. And I think as all of us experienced, that first kick of using it is very successful. It's very incredible that first time you spin up some code or you write an email or you write a poem for your wife and you're like, this is going to change the entire world. And you multiply that impact on an individual level across tens of thousands of people, across thousands of organizations. And that creates a really strong sense this is going to change everything. That creates a level of hype. It creates a level of expectation. That expectation drives the mandates that are given to teams. It drives the expectations of leadership on what the AI should be doing. Your boss, or often your boss's boss, sees I can code up this thing myself in, 20 minutes, or more likely, I can write all my emails with this. Oh, I was able to summarize this report so easily. This is incredible. You have a new mandate. You need to increase AI usage by 50% across the team. What does that mean? How does that connect to business value? You know, maybe it drives some small layers of individual productivity, but maybe on large scale, the hallucination gap. Maybe many of the team, there's a skill gap on how to really go to that next step. You end up with a lot of shadow AI as all your individual developers are thinking, oh, okay, I use my own Claude instance, I connected into this. And then all of a sudden you've leaked your whole SharePoint out to everywhere. Now, these are a lot of examples that I'm just pulling off my head a little bit now, but when you go through the report, this is a really, really key part of why, in my opinion, and why in the opinion of the rest of the other authors and the community as a whole, is so many people are struggling with AI. It's because we have these incredible expectations. We then start to adopt AI on an individual level. It's extremely exciting. Progress obviously stalls. We face scaling problems. There's huge governance problems. Security has a huge panic attack. And there's no kind of structured or coherent enterprise strategy. The strategy might just be use more AI. Well, that's not necessarily a strategy. And this is something that I think many people are quite often concerned about. Now, this is kind of a fun fact for you here at the bottom. Tools like Cursor contribute almost 1 billion lines of code a day. And that's, I think, unsurprising given what we looked at before in terms of the way AI is being used by the industry and the way that individuals are using AI, both mostly for code generation. So if you shouldn't just be setting a mandate of everyone use more AI, if you shouldn't just be generating code with AI, if you shouldn't just be writing your documentation, writing your emails, what actually should you be doing? Well, there's 5 guiding principles to AI success highlighted in the white paper. And in the white paper, each of these has about 3 pages of information. So obviously, this little webinar is not going to be the ultimate hack you need to lift off. But right after this, there is a QR code that will take you to the landing page where you can download, or you can join the waitlist. And then on Thursday, you can download the finished report, which I think it's just getting its very last touches. But what are these 5 guiding principles? Well, the first thing I think you need to keep in mind is that AI amplifies existing problems rather than solving them. As soon as you have that in mind, it starts to make it a little bit easier to think about whether a mandate or whether an objective is a productive one. If you have really, really, really poorly standardized systems and everyone is writing a completely separate type of Terraform file, you have developers who have to write their own Terraform files, there's no templates, they kind of just write someone a message on Slack. They probably do a ticket first, then they wait 5 minutes, get impatient, send a Slack message or a Teams message, and then end up getting some kind of half-baked breakdown on a screen share or gets taken over, and then they write one themselves. Then if you say, okay, we're going to simplify this by using AI to write all of our IAC files or our Terraform files, you can see the flaw there. You can see that exact path from hype to disappointment when you think, well, hype, I've been using AI myself, great for writing code. Wow, maybe I could even use it to write a Terraform file. Hey, this one's not half bad. But you take a really shaky, unstructured, poorly broken foundation system for managing your IAC, and you just throw AI in there, and now you're going to generate your Terraform files. I think we can all see that's going to be a little bit of a disaster. And so you should really, really, really make sure you have those foundations down. Make sure that you actually have, if you're working in the platform engineering space, and since you're watching this, I assume you are, make sure you have a strong platform as a product principle. Make sure that you have platform engineering. You're really understanding the way you think about your platform. Your platform has guardrails. You're designing your golden paths. You're thinking about standardization. You're thinking about templates, automations. All of those things can come before AI and give you incredible results. And also, they will make it significantly easier to implement AI. You'll be able to have a much easier time implementing an incredible AI for generating Terraform files if you have shrunk your scope of random TF templates down 99%, which probably you can, and you probably know you can, but it's a little bit tricky, might take some time, and you've got other priorities because you have an AI mandate now. So really focus on those foundations. Next, start with clear intent and measurable outcomes. So what does that actually mean? Well, like in all things, I think in platform engineering, but from the AI perspective, this product thinking approach, what actually is your goal with the AI? Use 50% more AI is not a goal. Increase productivity with AI is not a goal. Maybe your goal, like I said, is to, reduce the amount of time that people have to read error logs. Got a lot of error logs coming in, super annoying. You have to sit there for 30 minutes. Well, probably not 30 minutes. You have to sit there for 5 minutes, read an error log, but you're getting 10 error logs a day. That's a pretty fantastic use case for having an AI summarize that for you, and then you read it yourself. And so maybe your goal then is you've measured out, okay, teams are spending an hour per day reading error logs. Probably not the case, but if it is for you, I'm sorry. And then now we'll use AI to reduce that by 95%. Clear intent, measurable outcome. Really think about that in whatever you're doing with AI. Now, of course, because it's platform engineering, embrace platform as a product thinking for AI. Your AI initiative can be thought of like a product in the same way. That means you need to think about what are the goals, what's the objectives, exactly like I just highlighted before. You need to think about if you're building an AI platform, your AI platform is a product. If you're using an AI powered platform, you need to think about the AI features that you're adding. Are you adding AI features that your customers, whether they're developers or not, actually want? That they'll actually use, that they derive benefit from them. If all of your developers are using Shadow AI, they're all using their own Claude instance, they're connecting it into your stuff. It happens. I know many of you security people are shaking your head in fear right this second, but it does happen and it's causing problems. Maybe that's a great place to start. But I don't know. I don't know your team and your platform. You need to have that platform as product thinking. You need to do the user research. You need to ask your customers, what are they using AI for? What do they think could be sped up with AI? And get that data. Next, implement gradual, pragmatic governance. This is a really, really crucial part of the process. We have a long section on governance in the white paper because governance is incredibly important with AI. There are many security teams that are just killing AI initiatives as a whole. Blanket ban on AI usage or heavily interfering with the usage of AI. And I completely understand why. We've all heard incredible horror stories of AI usage, AI gone rogue, developers using, AI maybe when they shouldn't be or in ways they shouldn't be to speed things up. And it really is important to have governance. But You can't just implement these very, very, very strict innovation damaging points of governance. There's great ways that you can play around with AI and experiment with AI in much safer environments using a cloud development environment. That's something we talk a little bit about. It's a good opportunity to really experiment without risk, building those guardrails in early. But that should be a key part of your platform initiative. AI usage should include AI usage should include a conscious thought of how you're going to implement and mandate governance as you go along. And it should be pragmatic, it should be thoughtful, and shouldn't be disruptive to innovation. But it also shouldn't be all bets are off, YOLO mode, just, push every line of code that gets generated no matter what. Now, invest in your team's evolution. Really, really important. As we highlighted above, the number one problem for teams is skill gaps. Skill gaps is a huge part of this. AI is very complicated. It's also very easy at the same time, which means that many people end up using it, think this is great, and then make mistakes, cause problems, or maybe just aren't using it in the best way that they can. Lots of the people that we interviewed are setting up dedicated stand-ups basically, where it's like, hey, it's an hour once a week where we all just share what we're learning with AI, how better to use the AI system in ways that really connect with this, or, oh, this is how I did my prompt. This is how I was able to get a better system flow from here. And that's something that's really important. You need to be investing in the individual person as much as you are in the AI usage. No point if you've got, loads of AI credits if you don't have a team who can really make the most of it. Now, like I said, in the report, each one of these is about 3 pages of information, and I would really recommend you read them, and it's a great thing to get started on next week. So, what else is in the report? I've been talking for about 40 minutes now. I talk very fast and I covered lots of stuff. So, don't worry, we'll do a few questions after this. But there is a lot more in the report, a lot more. And what are some of those things? Well, I only covered about 10 pages of content here. So, what do platform engineers want to use AI for? What are the things that most teams are longing for but are missing? Now, if you are, kind of designing an AI platform or you're working on an AI initiative in your company, maybe that's helpful for you to understand what people are actually looking for from the platform engineering perspective. Now, the platform as an AI enabler, a new mandate, I touched on that a little bit, but I think that's a really important way of understanding how your role as a platform engineer may change in the next few years. I think it's undeniable. AI is going to play a huge part of it. The potential of agentic AI and autonomous systems, addressing the skill gap. So, like that skill gap I talked about, but some training and enablement strategies, some actual strategies you can do. And then what will the future bring? AI native infrastructure and intelligent platforms. So it wouldn't be a nice report if we didn't have some conversations with really the most cutting edge of the cutting edge and use that to kind of get a sense of what we think might be coming. So, do you want to succeed in AI and platform engineering? Well, go follow this QR code and let me double check actually. This is kind of an awkward moment. Does this QR code work behind the scenes together? It does. Now I am I am ready to take some Q&A, and we'll leave this up on the screen. And if you have some questions, excuse me, we'll leave this QR code up on the screen. If you have some questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Mhm. No questions. Going once, going twice. Can you hear me? Is the webinar still running? Yes, thank you, Kenneth, for sharing the. Thank you. I needed that. A little bit nervous. Thank you very much, Savinda. I was getting a little bit too confident that I had perfectly articulated all of the information and you had zero questions. So Savinda, thank you very much. What's one early misstep that slows down AI initiatives the most? Well, for that, I touched on a little bit, but I will really emphasize this imbalance between vague hype and the expectation that comes from that. It's really common for a leadership team to think, hey, I am using AI for this cool stuff. It's fantastic. It's working for me. bam, go implement this into everything without really a sense of what actually are we going to do with the AI and really a sense of how challenging it is going from that first step into the next points. So I think the really important thing that you can think about, Savinda, is expectation management from the very beginning and really thinking about what actually are we going to do. You're not going to increase productivity with AI. It's too vague. What does that mean? Where is it going to cover? You need to really button down on a few specific processes, use cases, specific challenges, and then use AI to resolve those. That's the gap between those 8% who are seeing, yeah, AI is really working, and that kind of 50% who think it's overhyped. So, one question. Did not completely get the overhype versus MIT report link. Is it that teams are not using it for the right tasks or that they're using it ineffectively? That's a combination of both things. So the link I was trying to make there was when you have the conversation about whether it is hyped or not, you notice a lot of similarities in the numbers of people who are getting measurable ROI and the people who think that AI is the most incredible thing ever. And the people who think that AI is not successful at all and are simply using it for code generation or don't have some of these principles that we highlighted before, you know, these points. If they don't have a strong foundation and they're just adding AI on top of it, well, obviously it's not going to succeed very well. They're not going to get clear, measurable ROI. Their AI initiative is probably not going to be very successful. And then they're going to think, man, this AI thing is pretty overhyped. So that was the connection I was trying to make there. So we didn't zoom in specifically on ROI measurement and these kind of longer term questions. We really focused on individual usage, on the platform engineer, on the more technical side of things. So I thought it was interesting to pull in that data from a more business standpoint, that relation. Hopefully that answered your question, anonymous attendee. Wow, lots of questions now. Um, do, 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 do. Uh, John Bennett or Jean Bonnet. I don't know where you're from, whether it's John Bennett or Jean Bonnet. It would be interesting to see a CI/CD pipeline diagrammed with AI at key parts. Do you see that in the upcoming report? So not in this report, no. So this report doesn't focus on any technical diagrams. It doesn't show you any, this is the code you should be using, this is the reference architecture you should be using. But there's a lot of that coming. So this is the first step, really, of the next 6 months of AI platform engineering content that will be coming. There will be a AI reference architecture, which will break down a lot of those questions that you're asking about. It will also, come with it a companion course, a free course, I'll add, on the university platform engineering page, and that will go through some of these points as well. So that's not in this specific report, but that is something that's absolutely coming. What surprises me, oh, sorry, excuse me, Piotr. What surprises me is a metric that based on code generation speed, we still don't see much impact on overall productivity. And that's a really important point to talk about. So code generation, if we go back here, does not inherently reflect any of these points. So code generation might make you faster individually. I have to code A. It usually takes me about an hour while I coded it in 40 minutes. There you go. That's a significant percent in productivity increase. But how does that continue down the chain? What happens to the review step of that code? Is coding all you're doing? Is coding all the only part that's involved in your job? Probably not. And probably not for most people, and definitely not across the entire software lifecycle. So coding is a really exciting metric. It's the same as saying, oh, we can write billions of words on something. But when you're writing something, the actual just getting words on paper is not really the crux of writing a report. And it's exactly the same when it comes to code. And that's why I think code generation is a really key fact here. People see how fast they individually can speed up with code generation. And then they think, well, magnify this across an entire organization. That's going to be incredible. And what we really see is that's not the case. often that doesn't involve any relation to these five guiding principles and thus inevitably doesn't really succeed so much. So we're just about running out of time, but I will stay a little bit longer and I will answer some of these questions. I hope that is all right with you. So, in the survey responses, what's been the most innovative use of AI you've seen? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint George on the question of in the survey responses, because I think the survey responses really highlight this big gap in the super high performers and those who are struggling a little bit because really most of the people who answered the survey were saying I'm I see the path, it's not really working for me. But when we had conversations with people, when we zoomed in a little bit, I think the really innovative stuff, I am quite partial to the connecting of a graph-based backend like a platform orchestrator with an MPC server using a kind of a neural or a natural language interface. That to me is pretty cool because if you're using natural language interface, you're typing a prompt into something and that prompt is connecting to an orchestrator, which is connecting to a platform and is then, kicking off your CI/CD or pulling something for you. In theory, you can just sit there and talk to your Jarvis and then suddenly you're having your platform do things for you. That's pretty cool. And I do find that pretty exciting. That comes with its challenges. You need a very, very strong foundation. You need a good back end before doing that. But you see the stuff, and I think just 2 weeks ago was highlighted by Natan, one of our platform engineering ambassadors with Holmes GPT. That is that exact type of thing, except more focused on the observability space. Being able to just type a question. Hey, what is this error? Error pops up in Slack. What is this? Oh, it's this. Ding, 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 ding. It's from that. Oh, okay. That's something that would have taken a lot of time in the past and is really being shrunk. And it's the small things like that that add the biggest value. It's often not, oh, we have this, parallel agentic workflow that's coding up millions of lines of code and it's spinning up apps on its own while I sleep. Like that's not what we're seeing. Maybe that's the future, but the incredible ROI is coming from these really specific, this was an annoying thing that cost, 30 minutes of time per developer across 10,000 developers across an entire enterprise, and we removed that. That is huge, huge, huge ROI. And that's the stuff that we're really excited about. Um, dun, dun, dun. I'll just take one more question. So, how do you approach governance in an effective way compared to common mistakes that you're seeing? So, I think that really, oops, sorry, I think that really intersects with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. So these five guiding principles, I think, are really important, both for when you're designing an AI initiative, when you're working through an AI mandate, but also when you're thinking about governance in and of itself. Understand, hey, well, this is where a problem might arise. Let's work on the solution together and really staying involved with an open mind. I think to me, the most effective governance is that open mind to the innovation, but with your hands up, ready to step forward and say, "Whoa, hang on a minute. Let's just have a conversation about this." The people we find that are most successful are where there really is a strong kind of feedback loop between security, between governance teams, well, between whoever is in charge really of the governance of that item. Sometimes it is the platform engineer itself, sometimes it isn't. Um, but that really tight feedback loop. Often I found when talking to people who had these very, very strict, all AI is banned, it's because they had zero interaction. They actually had no interaction with their security team at all. So they weren't really able to have a conversation with security and say, like, hey, this is what I would like to do. It's going to do this thing. It's going to touch this. Actually, we'll put it in a CDE. It's going to be a closed off environment that will let us experiment. It's going to have no connection to anything else. Causes problems. I can just kill it. Won't touch anything. Low cost, no problems. They're not having that conversation with their security teams because they're not talking at all. And that's usually where I find the biggest problem. A big part of your role as a platform engineer is communicating with different stakeholders. So I find these teams who are already have good feedback loops with security, they understand what security are worried about. They're able to balance, okay, security is very afraid with the developers want to go totally crazy and just use AI to do everything for themselves, totally free willy, and then find that balance between them with an open mind. That is where you really get good governance. That's where you get successful AI. And that's how you end up being that 8% who think this AI thing, it's not hyped enough. So with that, I'll say a very big thank you to everyone. And remember, if you follow this QR code, you can get straight to the landing page. You can join the waitlist. And then Thursday morning, you'll get the report right in your inbox. And if you have more questions for me, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, send me a message, or reach out on the Platform Engineering Slack. So I want to say a huge thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to you reading the report. Thank you for giving me your time, and have a wonderful day or evening or morning, wherever you are. Thanks, everybody.